Good morning, listeners and viewers of the Real Stuff podcast. Today we have our featured guest, Ms Ashara Inaya.
Hello.
Yes? Are you hearing me?
Yep.
You want to say something?
I was just saying hello.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, good morning to the Real Stuff podcast. Welcome to our listeners and viewers. And I definitely welcome our featured guest today, Ms Ashara Inaya. And she'll be speaking about magnesium deficiency and its effects, which is very, very important for our survival. So I'm going to ask Ashara to just take over now. First, you can just do a quick thing about yourself, although you have been here many, many times, but some of our new viewers, just give them a little heads up on who you are and what you're trying to teach us today.
So I'm a nutrition coach, a general wellness coach, and an herbalist. And I focus heavily on nutrients for the body because the body depends on nutrients in order to function properly. And there's a lot of information out there about ways to be healthy and avoid certain illnesses or reverse certain illnesses, and a lot of that information is incorrect, or even how to detoxify. And there are people suggesting that we do a detox by not eating or by only juicing, or like fasting and things like that, but that's actually harmful because, again, every function requires nutrients. So I try to educate people in terms of how important proper nutrition is, and also about what can happen when we deprive ourselves of nutrients, whether it's to lose weight or whether it's to detox or whatever the reason is. So it's just so important, because we can think that we're doing things that are beneficial for the body and actually be harming ourselves in the long run. Are you there? Can you hear me?
Yes, I'm hearing it clearly.
Oh, you just want me to continue from there? I thought you were. Okay. um, so magnesium has several functions in the body, but one of which, well, a couple things that is very important for is metabolism. And when we're talking about the metabolic functions, that's about more than just um, processing. Like that's about more than just what we digest, like more than our digestion. That's also about how our body is producing energy and breaking down different nutrients for energy production, or having access to different nutrients for energy production. So when it comes to metabolism, um, then and 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 health, or metabolism and illness rather, then you have certain ailments that are metabolic diseases, like two of the most common, which are hypertension and diabetes, or type 2 diabetes specifically, because type 1 diabetes is an autoimmune disease. So,
Could you explain that,
uh,
please?
say that again.
Could you explain that?
The autoimmune disease.
Yeah, right, yes.
Okay, so type 1 diabetes is one of many what's called autoimmune um, diseases. And an autoimmune disease is when the body attacks some aspect of itself.
Okay.
So with diabetes, for example, type 1 diabetes, a person has to take insulin because they can't make enough insulin because their immune system it thinks that the cells that make insulin are foreign
Oh,
and they attack those cells. So um, the person deals with a lot of inflammation and those cells are constantly being killed off, so that they are not able to produce the insulin that the person needs. So this is not something that came about because of like diet or something like that. It can be due to environmental factors. Certain vaccines can impact whether or not a person develops an autoimmune disease. There are several different autoimmune diseases. Lupus is another one where the person's um, body is attacking their heart,
mm,
right? So then you have pancreatic autoimmune disease. There are lots of different kinds. Rheumatoid arthritis is actually an autoimmune disease. So and there are different kinds of arthritis. So that's the basics of autoimmune diseases. But so when it comes to um, what needs to happen inside the cells in terms of basic functions, like the majority of the functions that the cells have to carry out rely heavily on magnesium. But again, when we're talking about metabolic issues, magnesium is extremely important for the production of energy, and sugar is important for that. But sugar cannot be processed properly if you don't have enough magnesium. That's one of the nutrients that you have to have a sufficient amount for in order for the body to properly take sugar out of the bloodstream and take it into the cells. Inside the cell, cellularly, is where sugar works. That's where most of the things work. This is why it's important to get intracellular blood tests, because you can get a blood test that says you could get I'm sorry, intracellular um, nutrient tests like for magnesium and iron and things like that. But those tests usually you have to pay for. Your insurance won't cover them most of the time. But these things have to be in the cell most of the time in order to help the body carry out the functions that need to be carried out. Um, when you have stress and certain other things that lead to stress, like you can have mental stress, you can have physical stress. Having a disease in and of itself is stress on the body. Then it's more difficult for the body to use the magnesium that it does have, or potassium. It might literally kick potassium out of the cell when there are times of stress. When there are times of stress, your kidneys will not recirculate magnesium through your system. It'll instead kick it out, and so it'll end up in your urine and in the toilet when you actually need it in the body. So we have to be careful with stress and stressors. Um, but magnesium is one of several electrolytes. I know a lot of us hear that word, electrolyte. Some people talk about food being electric, but the minerals that are important electrolytes includes magnesium. Potassium is another one. Calcium is another one. Sodium, although we mostly hear negative things about sodium, sodium is an important electrolyte. It's an important nutrient. We don't have to make one nutrient worse than the rest of them. We just have to understand that if one nutrient is a problem or seems to be a problem, then it's because we don't have enough of certain other nutrients. And in previous shows, I talked about how many nutrients depend on other nutrients. So even when we're talking about magnesium, we can't just talk about magnesium because you could get, let's say you take a magnesium supplement. Let's say you could potentially get enough magnesium just from getting a supplement, and if you hardly have it in your food, which you can't, but let's just say you could. Okay, if you get plenty of magnesium, but you don't have B6, you don't have enough vitamin B6, or you don't get enough vitamin D, or you don't get enough vitamin C, then you have magnesium, but or you've consumed it, but can you absorb it in your digestive tract? Can you absorb it and get it into your bloodstream? Once it's in your bloodstream, um, which absorbing it and getting it into the bloodstream requires plenty of vitamin C. Once it's in your bloodstream, you have to get it into your cells. Getting it into the cells requires plenty of vitamin B6. It requires vitamin D. At the very least, there are other nutrients that are involved, but these are the biggest, the ones that contribute most significantly.
Big
So
question, the big
we might
question
have,
is, yeah, the big question
I
is,
didn't hear you.
yeah, the big question is what you need to do to get on the required balance where you have everything and everything will work for everything else.
Mm-hmm.
What is required of a person?
So
What's the optimum?
definitely reducing junk food or eliminating that from the diet. Because if you, let's say, refined sugar, for example, people say sugar's bad. Sugar in and of itself is not bad. When you have white sugar in the diet, then you're creating a situation. If you just consumed whole sugar that came from the sugar cane, was juiced, dried, and so forth, and they didn't take all the nutrients out of it, that's a better type of sugar to consume. But if you're consuming a lot of white sugar, what you're doing is creating a higher demand on the body for potassium, magnesium, vitamin C. So eating lots of store-bought cakes and cookies, or even ice cream, yogurt. We could go and say, oh, yogurt is good for you, but what are they sweetening it with? So if you buy plain yogurt and you say, okay, well, I'm going to get the plain without sweetener, and I'll just add honey or I'll add some maple syrup and I'll sweeten it that way with something that's natural that has nutrients in it, that would be better. But even our spaghetti sauce, you have to be careful of sugar in there. So we're constantly adding things that have white sugar, refined sugar. This is sugar that they took the nutrients out of and they sell it to you separately and they call it molasses. That's all the nutrients they took out of the sugar. So when you have a lot of those refined things, cornstarch, a lot of people cook with cornstarch. That's a refined sugar. And so you're making your body need to pull from previous resources or even from your teeth or your bones in order to get magnesium to help process that sugar, when you could have had sugar that had magnesium in it. But we don't. Most of us, we're having lots of junk food. So that's one thing. Then you want to try to reduce foods that interfere with your absorbing of certain nutrients. Those are things that are seeds of a plant. So nuts, grains, um, grains that includes the pseudo grains, which are quinoa and buckwheat, things like that. And then you have your true grains, which are corn, um, rice, oats, um, wheat, so pasta, even spelt. Some people have promoted spelt as being better because it's a more original or something like that. It's still a grain that's going to keep you from absorbing magnesium, iron, potassium, calcium, um, and other minerals. So we want to steer clear. Beans as well. It's a seed, so it's going to keep you from absorbing these important minerals. and you'll only be able to absorb very small amounts. So um, anything that you eat with them, if you put a burger, like your burger patty, if you make a burger and you put it between two pieces of bread, that bread is going to keep you from absorbing the zinc from the meat. It's going to keep you from absorbing the selenium from the meat and any other the iron from the meat. So you um, instead you can take that patty and cut it up and make a salad. And everything that you would normally put between those two pieces of bread, you can pile it up on your salad and make and eat it that way. Instead of using pasta for spaghetti, like wheat pasta or bean pasta, because now there are bean alternatives for wheat pasta. Instead of using those things, you could use carrots. You can use um, spiralized veggies like um, zucchini or something like that. Or you could use sweet potato, spiralized sweet potato. There's sweet potato noodles now. So, but that's veggies in the freezer section at the store. But I like to use carrots. That works just fine for me. Or you could chop up a lot of different veggies. Like I'll chop up carrots and zucchini and some bell pepper and use that instead of spaghetti noodles. So replacing certain things like seeds and grains with more vegetables will help. Um, when it comes to magnesium, the food that is highest would be spinach, or like probably callaloo would be next to that. Um, so making sure you get enough magnesium foods, lots of green veggies, but especially spinach and callaloo. Um, Lots of fruit that is high in vitamin C, because you have to get vitamin C to absorb minerals very well. So um, citrus fruits, especially oranges, limes, lemons. Pineapples are also high in vitamin C, strawberries. So those are good options. Um, and then again, you want to make sure that you're getting vitamin D. You can get that in the sun. Being in the sun, your body will make vitamin D, but in order to make it, you have to have certain other nutrients, right? Your body can't just make certain things without having the nutrients available to make it. And then magnesium is one of those things that's important for being the process of the conversion of what you get from the sun into vitamin D. So fish though, salmon is high vitamin D. And you have some other fish that are not as high, but or mackerel, that's another one. Some other fish are not as high in vitamin D, but they are um, pretty good options. Eggs, eggs can be decent options to add vitamin D to the diet, especially if they're free range, cage free, free range eggs. Um,
That's free range.
where the eggs, the chickens have access to sunlight, and they have
Okay.
access to other things besides the feed that they're given. So I've been on free range farms where they're feeding corn, but the chickens hardly eat it, and they're mostly running around picking bugs and worms and things like that, which they prefer.
Yeah, we call
So
it
they have
common fowl. Yeah, we call it common fowl in Jamaica.
okay, okay, yeah, and they call it free range here. So yeah, as long as they have access to open air and sunlight, and a lot of times you can just go to local farms and get those things, if it's hard to find in certain stores. Just depends on your area. So
Mhm.
so those are some ways to start to make sure you're getting more. And I think in a couple of the previous shows I mentioned the website Chronometer. CRONO.
Can you put that in the chat for me? So I can get it after.
Okay. Oops. I don't know why I don't. I'm sorry. That's the wrong spelling. Okay. So, yeah. So chronometer.com is helpful for tracking your food intake, but also helps you track what's the nutrients that are in the food. And as long as you're not eating a lot of the foods that I mentioned earlier that prevent you from absorbing minerals, um, then the majority of what that website shows you is what you're going to get. You're going to have access to. And I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Oh, okay. So, so yes, those are some ways to make sure that you are able to get more of the nutrition that you need, magnesium and other things.
But why haven't we been, obviously the information is out there, but why haven't we been promoting magnesium and potassium in a big way?
Um, our education system is not set up for that. Most of where that information lies is in laboratories where
Okay.
they're studying different animals, studying different people, studying their diets, or studying what the impact is when a species does not have enough of a certain thing. Um, and unfortunately, the doctors who we have access to, because we don't have access to laboratories, right? We don't have access to people who are doing that research. We go to the doctor, or we might go to a nutritionist, but the doctor is not trained. They learn nutrition to a certain degree, like they take a nutrition class, but they're not trained to understand the overall importance of any of the nutrients when it's pertaining to health. Certain ones they do, like they know what happens if you lack vitamin C. They know you can end up with scurvy. If you come in with, say that again.
No, go ahead. Yeah.
If you come in with symptoms of scurvy, then that's one of the ailments that they will tell you to take a nutrient for. But this was established a long time before our medical system was. Um, so most of the things that they acknowledge as being due to a nutritional deficiency are things that were already known long ago. Today, when they discover things about different illnesses or when new illnesses come about, they're looking for a drug to address it.
Mm-hmm.
They are geared around pharmaceutical drugs. They are taught in medical school to listen to the drug reps as far as what to do for any ailments. So drug representatives, drug companies are very important in medical school. They have a lot of influence over what is taught in medical school, and they have a lot of influence on the individuals who are practitioners when they leave school. And drugs are there to imitate what a nutrient is supposed to, the outcome that a nutrient should have, but they can't take the place of nutrients. So if you have nutrient issues, you continue to get worse and worse and worse. If you have high blood sugar, you continue to have this issue get worse and worse and worse as your pancreas starts to um, lose more and more of its ability to function properly to make insulin that you need to handle sugar. As your cells continually lose their ability to take sugar in, they're just giving you more drugs, trying to force these processes that nutrients are there to manage. But we don't have them, and then we cause our bodies to lose even more of them because of the stress that they're under with the illness plus the drug. So we end up in just situations that become worse and worse, or we end up in loops that just repeat, cycles that just repeat.
I have a question here. How
Mhm.
critical is magnesium deficiency in comparison to other mineral and vitamin deficiencies?
Um, it's very significant, but to put that in terms, there's not going to be a quick or fast negative result from a magnesium deficiency. It takes time and the results are slow. And we normally don't understand that what we're looking at is part of a magnesium issue.
Okay.
So, whereas with scurvy, you're going to have all of these horrendous things happening, very uncomfortable things happening, and they're going to immediately say, okay, these things are showing that you don't have enough vitamin C. Here, let's get you vitamin C. When your blood sugar starts to be mismanaged, or your bones, let's go there, for example. Magnesium is extremely important for bones and teeth. We hear a lot about calcium for those,
Yeah,
but
right.
we have much more than calcium in our bones and teeth. Magnesium is extremely important for bone density and proper, cellular production within the bones. By the time you have a test that shows a major problem within your bones, you've had a magnesium issue for years.
Okay.
By the time your blood test at your doctor's office shows your A1C is too high and they diagnose you with prediabetes or diabetes, you've had a magnesium issue for years. They don't test, they have nothing to show when you have metabolic disorder, which happens before prediabetes and before prehypertension. They have nothing to show that to you, and you'll just have a series of different things that may occur that you don't ever notice. By the time you notice the problems that magnesium deficiency causes, you've had a problem with magnesium for many, over a year or for many years, constantly having insufficient amounts or constantly having amounts that are deficient, just nowhere near enough. You might have you're going to be more prone to things like a stroke, but again, by the time you get to the point of having a stroke, you've had a magnesium problem for years.
So
Because with
can that be reversed?
the can the effects of a stroke be
No,
reversed?
no, diabetes, the magnesium deficiency.
Yes, yes, but it's very um tedious process, because you again, once you enter into these deficiency loops, because deficiency of magnesium leads to deficiency of other things, which leads to more deficiency or more issues with magnesium. So you're just in a loop over and over and over again. Deficiency of magnesium leads to deficiency of vitamin D, for example. Vitamin D issues creates. So you have to then depend on a supplement with diet and a very focused effort and being consistent. And I think that's where a lot of us find the most challenge is consistency. To stay away from the things we have to stay away from and to eat the things we need to be eating, even if we don't like them, because that's how dire the situation is. Like, we can't afford to play games when we're in that space. You know what I mean? If we're at that point where we're at risk of a stroke, or we've entered into full-blown diabetes, you don't have a lot of leeway to say, oh, you know what, I'm just going to have that cookie today. You have to be determined. And so, unfortunately, most of the time, if people do decide to have that mindset or try to develop it, because that's not something most people can develop overnight, that's something that takes time. Unfortunately, by the time we decide, hey, I'm going to really get serious about my diet, and I'm going to really make sure that I stick to what I need to be doing and not doing things that I shouldn't be doing, it takes a major situation that makes us extremely uncomfortable for that, instead of being proactive and dealing with prevention. So I'm always promoting a mindset of prevention, because you don't want to end up in full-blown diabetes, especially for years. Yes, you can reverse it, but the work it takes is 10 times harder than if you decided, I never want to have diabetes to begin with, so I'm going to do these things ahead of time.
Here in Jamaica, we have a serious diabetes problem,
Mm-hmm.
because we are looking at probably 14 to 18% of the population, and
Wow.
most people don't even know that they have it.
Mm.
So, what would you suggest in that situation?
For those who are dealing with it,
Yeah.
but okay. Now, first thing is, I do promote going to doctors. Okay. I'm not the one to say everything that the doctor says should be followed, but I'm a firm believer in using the doctors for what they are always good for, which is running tests.
Hmm.
So, but we have to, again, when we're talking about nutrient tests, we have to be careful to understand that we have to get the right test. So that's probably like a whole conversation in and of itself. But when you're talking about running tests to make sure that your blood sugar is in the normal range, or what they consider normal, definitely do that. But again, you could be showing normal range and have metabolic disorder, which is what leads to prediabetes or prehypertension. So, but still, you can at least have some kind of snapshot of what's going on. How's your blood count? How's this? How's that? Use them for the test. But what I mentioned earlier, as far as removing certain things from the diet, adding certain things to the diet, that's what people can do, whoever they are. They can start making changes and start working towards a mindset of discipline, so that the things that they're dealing with can slowly be worked out as they slowly get themselves accustomed to staying with a program, or learning the program, but being consistent. That's the thing that I have to repeat over and over again, is try to deal with prevention, and try to deal with, so if you don't know you have diabetes, you can act like you have it or you don't have it. Either way, work on changing your lifestyle, changing the way you eat, changing the way you think about food. I made a post the other day on Facebook that said, I think about junk food the way I think about a candle. Okay. people around me may be eating pizza or cake, um, things that smell really great, and I'm in the room with these people eating this food. But I say I think about junk food the way I think about candles. It smells wonderful, but I would never eat it. But that's a mindset that took me months and months and months and months and months, over a year, to develop, to be able to be in a room with the foods that used to be my downfall and not care, to be able to enjoy what they smell like and not feel like I have to taste it. That is a work on your mindset. That is a work on a change in thought process. So I'm always saying to people, start the work, start the process of training yourself, start to take these things away. And part of that work is never look at it as a deprivation. Never say to yourself, oh, I'm depriving myself. Because if you feel like you're deprived of something, in your mind, it's something you need. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah,
Change,
lots of sense. Yes.
you know, like this is something I have to have. We tell ourselves these things. I have to have some ice cream. I have to. No, no, you don't. Okay, maybe sometimes you let yourself indulge in this thing in order to get beyond however you're feeling about it. But for the most part, you remove it from your life because you understand it is not good for you. So part of that is self-love. If we're loving ourselves enough, I think some people are promoting the wrong idea, which is if you like something, go ahead and have it to make yourself feel better. But what we need to understand for ourselves is, if that thing that makes us feel better is not good for us, we might as well be telling a junkie to go ahead and smoke some crack real, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
that's not the message we should be promoting to ourselves or each other, to go ahead and do it because it'll make us feel better. Oh, I'm stressed out, I'm going to go ahead and treat myself. See the words that we use. I'm going to treat myself to this thing. But this thing you're treating yourself to, is it a treat if it's at the same time a negative to you? No, it's not a treat. We think it is because we like the way it tastes, but what is it doing to us? So we have to change the way we think about food. That's part of the process of becoming disciplined, and change the way that we act and deal with food. The things that we think we don't like, I tell people, play with your food. They say, what do you mean? Play with it. Act like you're a kid again with your food. You know, get creative. I don't like tomatoes. Okay. Well, get in the kitchen and get some tomatoes together and all the seasonings you have in your cabinet. Take several slices off the tomato and experiment with all the different seasonings and see which ones of those things, or which combinations, or which individual seasonings help you actually tolerate the tomato. And whatever you find says, oh, okay, this helps me tolerate the tomato. I still don't like it, but I can deal with it. Now make yourself eat the tomato with whatever that is, over and over and over again, until you're not just tolerating it, now you like it. So now this is conditioning. So we're dealing with self-love and conditioning in order to get to discipline. So it's all mindset.
Always fertilizers affecting like our fruits and vegetables today. What's that doing to us?
We don't just have fertilizers affecting things. There are also the herbicides, the things
Yes.
that kill. So the fertilizers really aren't the issue. Most of the fertilizers are um, either natural, like fecal sources, which is the natural normal fertilizer for soil,
Mm.
or they're just infusing nitrogen into the soil, which that's the main part of feces. So they'll just say, okay, we're, instead of getting manure, we're going to use nitrogen, which is what makes manure so fertilizing. Those things aren't the biggest issues. You have herbicides and pesticides, the things that they spray on the foods that kill bugs and other pests and kill off other herbs, so that they don't have to contend with weeds. They don't want weeds growing up around the crops. So some of the pesticides are just as harmful for us as they are for the pests they're killing. It's just that I won't say just as harmful, but they are harmful for us as well. It's just that instead of killing us immediately, it may just cause us some low-grade inflammation. Some of these things we don't have to worry too much about as long as we wash our food. But some of the things can actually get inside, like through the skin of certain fruits like apples and strawberries. So really it's best to try to go with things that are grown organically, or like the organic label is expensive. So some people grow the same way or better than organic, but you don't know because it doesn't say organic.
Yeah.
So if you're dealing with local growers, you can always look into that, find out how they're growing. But otherwise, it's always, if you can get, it's always a good idea to get organic. Because like I said, apples, the things that they spray can get inside the, get through past the skin. Strawberries are another one. There's a list of those uh, foods that the things that are sprayed can actually go through and penetrate the skin of. But for some of those things, you can just avoid it by washing very well. But as far as the herb,
How do you wash vegetables and fruits for optimum protection?
it can be as simple as just scrubbing, like with a dish brush. I just wash, scrub it while you wash it, or you can use vinegar.
Okay.
Um, that would be fine too. Um, some herbicides are actually affecting our hormones.
Mm.
There was a scientist a while back who was hired by a company that makes um, a popular herbicide, and he found that this herbicide was actually causing certain frogs to change gender.
Mm.
The males were, there was all male frogs, and he noticed that some of them were starting to exhibit mating activities with the other male frogs as though they were female. Um, and then when some were killed and cut open, he noticed that they had actually started to change, like produce eggs. Some of the
Mm.
males went so far as to um, become pregnant. Like they literally changed physiologically into females.
Wow.
So that particular creature, that particular frog, can do that. We can't, but we can exhibit certain behaviors that are of the opposite sex.
Mm.
Um, so it affects us chemically, which affects us mentally.
Mm.
Atrazine is the name of that herbicide, by the way.
Okay.
And it's mostly sprayed on grains.
Mm. Which we have no control over. Mhm.
Unless we grow our own food.
Right, yeah.
But I don't suggest growing grains anyway. So I don't suggest eating them. So if we're avoiding the grains, then we can also avoid atrazine for the most part. And there may be
Yeah.
some
Hmm.
vegetables that it's also sprayed on, but you can Google that and find out what it's used on.
What about those people who grew up on grains and beans and all that? What can they do? Is there a balance point? Because they might not
Um,
want to give it up, completely.
I grew up on those things. I love beans. I love them. I
I do
love all
too.
kinds of beans.
I do
Um,
too.
but and I love bread. I used to make bread from scratch every week. But
Mm.
unfortunately, again, with the mindset change, understanding that those things don't love me, and looking at them instead of foods that I should eat regularly, looking at them only as survival foods in times of severe financial distress or lack for another reason. But we can always swap these things out for stuff like potatoes. We can always grow potatoes or buy potatoes, sweet potatoes as well, uh, plantain. You can use green plantains and green bananas like vegetables or starchy like potatoes. So they can actually replace rice. I will take a green banana or a green plantain and put it in a food processor and chop it up into tiny bits like rice, and I'll use that in my casseroles. So,
Okay.
um, in a lot of stores now they sell cauliflower rice, right? It's just tiny pieces of cauliflower you can use to replace rice. Far as beans, I just don't eat them anymore. If I have a dish that normally contains beans, like chili, I'll replace it with something. I'll replace beans with sweet potatoes. It's amazing.
Really?
Hmm.
I love chili. So I haven't had any for a while.
Yep, everybody who's ever eaten it loves it. I just dice up some sweet potatoes and use that instead of beans.
Okay. That I
Yep.
should
So
try.
there's ways to find around eating these things. But again, it's not like it's not like somebody's gonna say, okay, overnight, I'm just gonna do it this way. You kind of find your way. You kind of
Mm-hmm.
learn different things. You find different things that you can replace things with. For sandwiches, for example, I tell people almost every sandwich makes a great salad. So pretty much anything I would make a sandwich out of, I make a salad instead. That includes
Mm-hmm.
burgers. So um, those are all different options for starting to slowly replace those things.
What do you say about cornmeal and flour? That
Um,
people are using a lot of dishes.
yeah, so cornmeal, I it depends on what I'm doing. I might replace it with certain other things. It depends on what the recipe is. But flour, there's plantain flour now. That's available. There's also banana flour. So they make that out of the green plantain and the green banana before it gets ripe and sweet. So it doesn't taste
What
like,
about cassava flour? 'Cause that's also
yeah, the other two are better, but cassava is fine. It's fine too.
okay. Okay. So wheat flour is one we should keep away from.
Yeah, wheat is a grain.
Yeah. Okay. And you didn't say anything about cornmeal?
Um, I don't, it's hard to say about cornmeal. It's used for so many different things. Um, Breading and things like that. So let's say you fry fish using cornmeal. Um, I don't know. Do you guys make chips out of plantains?
Yeah, and banana.
Okay, because I don't know what they're called, what you guys call them. I know what they're called in Mexico and South America, but I'm not sure what you guys call them. But they sell those in our stores here too. So I go get plantain chips and I grind them down to the consistency of cornmeal, and I use that to batter my fish.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
It's very good, actually. Very, very good.
Okay. That's wonderful. Yeah. Wonderful to know.
Yep, I just put it in a food processor and
Hmm.
pulse it until it's like a cornmeal
Yeah.
powder.
Does. Yeah. Wonderful. Wonderful. So what will your next topic will be when you come back?
I don't know. We can we can we can talk about it and decide on a topic. I can't say I know off the top of my head right now though.
Yeah, because what you're telling us, I mean, a lot of people want to hear these things. because these are not the normal thing that you see, or read about or news items or whatever.
That,
Because even go to the doctor with diabetes, I mean, they'll give you the requisite medication and all that.
yeah.
But
And then they give us bad information in terms of the food we should eat. Um, Maybe I can get into that a little bit more, but I know my ex-husband was diagnosed about 8 years ago with prediabetes. He
mm,
was being ridiculous and eating things outside of home that I definitely wouldn't have bought, or he would eat candy bars and all kinds of stuff, and it caught up with him. And I said, okay, here's what we're doing, because the doctor said, stop eating anything sweet, try to reduce your carbs and all that kind of stuff. I said, no, you're going to eat carbs. You're just going to eat differently, eat different carbs. You're not going to have candy bars. You're not going to have, pop. We're not going to do soda. Um, but lots of sweet potatoes, lots of potatoes, beets, things like that that are high potassium, because when you have diabetes, you have a potassium and magnesium issue for sure.
yeah,
Um, so we, in addition to changing the foods, the way he ate food, and not taking away carbs, because those high potassium carbs are so important, I did certain herbs to assist. And then the next year, actually within the next 6 months, he was no longer pre-diabetic and never went back
okay,
into pre-diabetes since
mm,
then.
okay,
So he kind of, he wasn't perfect with staying on his diet, but he kind of realized at that point it was something he should do. So he started having to change his mindset and be more disciplined.
yeah. What's your take on chocolate?
Chocolate is a problem for more than one reason. Chocolate is a seed. It's a bean.
Yeah,
Um, or so and also it has magne I mean um hmm, I don't know, magnesium stuck in my head. It has caffeine. So caffeine also reduces your magnesium levels in your body. It causes you to dump magnesium through your urine, so you urinate it out instead of recirculating it through your body where it needs to go. Um, so that's two problems with it. Also, most of the time, if you're getting sweetened chocolate, it's sweetened with what? White sugar.
mm-hmm, okay. I think you said that dark chocolate is good for you or not bad for you.
The problem when the industries come up with these things that are good for you is they're looking at one thing. So let's say, for example, you need a maid, and I recommend someone. I say, oh, she's wonderful. She works great. She comes on time. She does her work exactly the way it needs to be done. You hire her. She's wonderful. She does her work on time. She does everything right. She does everything you ask, but she's robbing you blind. Every time she sets foot in your house, she steals something else. Is she good for you? No.
Not really. Mm,
That's coffee. That's, what is that green coffee? They say bulletproof coffee and all that kind of stuff. Oh, it's so great for you. No, because while it's giving this benefit, it's taking so much more away. But that's also dark chocolate and
okay.
other things that they say are good for you. There's a list of things that they can come up with and say, this is good for this or this is good for that. Okay, yes, but what else does it do that's not good for me? I need to know that too.
Mm-hmm. But that's not usually forthcoming.
I didn't hear you.
No, I'm saying that is not normally forthcoming. What is
Right.
doing against you? Yes.
They're not normally
Mhm.
looking for it either. They don't
Yeah.
care. They just say, oh, look at this great thing we found out about it. And they're never going to report about, oh, well, here's all the things that caffeine does to your body. Caffeine actually promotes eventually the development of high blood pressure and diabetes because
Okay.
it's making you lose magnesium, and it contributes to stress on the body, oxidative stress.
Okay. So you don't promote drinking coffee or chocolate.
No.
Okay.
No, most people rely so heavily on coffee because of the society we have today. It's very high paced and tiring. So people need something for energy. But again, I say lean into nutrients. Most of those same people who drink coffee every day to get through the day don't have enough B12 in their diet. They don't have enough vitamin C in their diet. They don't have enough magnesium in their diet. These are the things that you need to have to produce energy at the very least. So if we're replacing the nutrients with we can look at coffee like a drug in that sense. We're replacing what nutrients does with something that forces us to feel like we have more energy,
Mm-hmm.
and we're still not getting the nutrients we need.
Yeah. I drink coffee because I like it. We grew, Jamaica's a coffee country.
Yeah, some people do actually like it too.
Yeah.
Some people just are like, I don't care for the taste, but I drink it for energy. But some teas, if it's just a taste thing, some combinations of tea can give a similar taste.
Okay.
Um, so it just depends. I know I make a tea combination, I add ashwagandha to it, which is great for stress, which is different from coffee because it's not contributing to stress. It's helping you reduce stress. But ashwagandha gives an overall flavor that can be similar to coffee because of that pungent taste to it. So if you add
What is
that to
that?
certain other herbal teas, I didn't hear you.
What is that? What tea is
It's an
that?
herb. It's
Yeah.
an herb, but you can buy it like chopped up in chunks. It's a root. So you can take the root, you can buy big, huge bags of the root that's chopped up instead of powder, and just put a tablespoon of it into, or half a tablespoon rather, into your tea. But you would want to mix it or blend it with some other things like rooibos. That's a wonderful tea too. I think the combination of rooibos and ashwagandha would give something more like a coffee flavor, especially if you add cream to it.
Okay. Okay. I don't know those. I don't know those names.
I can that's a Indian herb. Ooh, I'm trying to type this in the chat.
Yeah. Thanks.
You won't ever find ashwagandha tea, but you can find ashwagandha sold in a bag with just the root cut up instead of a powder. So you'll
Okay.
be able to make a tea with it. But I make some regularly, and my daughter's like, "How did you make this taste like coffee?" It tastes like coffee to her when it has milk in it. So
Okay. So much to learn in this area.
yeah.
So what is your I mean, you can give us just a little idea of what you eat daily, normally or weekly.
Um, sure. Um, so morning it depends, but I often have um eggs. Um, eggs and hash browns make a good combination. Or eggs and you can do country like style potatoes, just dice it up. Potatoes with bell peppers and onions and serve with eggs. You can have any meat with that that you would like. Or let's say I'll do a smoothie with like avocado and lemon. I'll sweeten it with maple syrup.
Okay. Avocado and oh yeah, lemon. Yeah.
Mm.
Hmm.
And or you can also add like pineapple to it. It's very good. Lunch might be a salad. Um, might do like a steak salad or a burger salad or chicken. It depends. Might do a ham salad. Or a soup. It's getting cold here, so I might do some kind of stew.
Soup. Yeah. I love soup.
Um, mhm. I'll just it'll be potatoes with veggies and meat,
Yeah.
or I might do chopped up plantains with veggies and meat or something like that. Um, Salmon and spinach for like a dinner, or um, steak uh, with sweet potato and like some veggie for dinner. It's easy if you're just doing a meat and two vegetables, and one of those vegetables can be a root vegetable, like a potato or sweet potato,
Yeah.
or
Okay.
it could be you can do fried plantain, or you could do beets, anything like that.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, that's simple. That's easy. A meat and two veggies. One of those veggies should be your potassium, your starch
Okay.
veggie.
Hmm.
Um, then you can also do stews and you do combinations. Well, you could do beef stew. That's easy.
Yeah.
Carrots, potatoes, beef. Um, yeah, any of those combinations will work. Um, Eggs with spinach.
Yeah.
Spinach eggs are my go-to every time. Usually when I make eggs, they have spinach in them.
Okay. Yes.
Just finding all the ways to put spinach into your daily. When you make a salad, you can use, or I'm sorry, you don't have spinach. You have,
Hallelujah.
do you ever make salad with callaloo instead of lettuce?
No.
Okay. I don't know what that would taste like, but I know I often replace lettuce with spinach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. It has been a fine morning. More,
Thank you.
more information. But before you go, I just want to ask you, how you like my set?
It's nice.
Just want to
It's
comment. You like it?
yeah.
Yeah, we're trying to make things more appealing each time we come. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
So Courtney will be in touch, and you can work out another topic and a date and all that. Because
Okay.
you have become a staple with us now, and the people are loving this
Thank
type of
you.
information. Really, really wonderful.
That's good. I appreciate you guys.
Yeah, man. So thank you very much.
Have a good day.
You too.
Bye bye.
Bye.
You lead us to full. You belong away Ajugwala lebabu seru lida sungfula lida sungfula.
Well, unfortunately, this is it. Till next time. Bless.
All you gotta do is just speak. One word is enough, and I'm no longer sorrow. I forget what I was trying to say. I no longer do what I was gonna do, but you're no good for me. That's why me know say me have to go flee. Me have to take away me say. Me have to take away me say. Me have to hide like a thief in the night.